part is very crucial. Alright, we're leaking. It's another day here at Freeman's Garage working on the abandoned 1962 AMC Rambler Classic Deluxe trim package. And we finally got a part we've been waiting a while for. So now we can go ahead and finish some cooling system work, our cooling system rejuvenation from a previous video with this car. So let's get this long awaited part out of the box, take a look at it, and get it installed on the car. And we'll button up our cooling system. So a little bit of cooling work here right now, and then we're gonna move on to the next phase with this car. And keep in mind, the goal for this car is to get it back on the road for the first time since 1975. So let's get to it, because I want to drive this car ASAP. So this part is very crucial. We could not survive without it, but at the same time, be ready to be let down because it's a radiator hose. Well, that was a lackluster surprise. But it's not just any ordinary radiator hose. I had to source this from a AMC restoration parts business, a mom and pop shop. And I don't know who they have punching these things out, molding them, but I'm very happy that they put the time and work into making this stuff available for us. But that's enough rambling. We'll be here all week. Don't forget to tip your waiter. This is the upper radiator hose, and I better give you the under 60-second saga of our upper radiator hose woes. I didn't mean to rhyme that time. So this is the hose that was on the car. And the thing with this hose is it's rock hard. Nixon was in office when this hose was installed. And if we ran this, we could probably shatter it with a hammer. If we ran this on this car, it would just explode into a million bite-sized pieces. And so we got this flexible hose, and it just does not, well, it's hard to do this with one hand, but it just does not, it kinks. You can't get it to make the bend we need. And that was inexpensive, but it didn't work for us. And we do have a Gates flexible hose down here that worked out great. Part number for that hose is down in the video description if you find yourself needing one. So then we turn to sourcing this, and I wasn't sure where to get it at first, but we got one, and it looks like it's gonna fit just like factory. That's the right way to do it, an actual molded rubber hose. Before we can install this new upper radiator hose, we need to install a thermostat, that's kind of an interesting thing in itself, and we'll get to that in a second. But we also should just throw a quick coat of primer on this thermostat housing. Not to make it look good, but just to help keep the rust from coming back, because we did media blast this in a previous video. So why erase the work that we did, you know what I mean? Keep it from rusting, even though there's rust all over here. Come on, we're somewhat sophisticated here, right? Possibly not worth it, but you know how it is. Alright, so while that's drying, it's just gonna need a few minutes. Let's get this stuff out of here that we don't need. Alright, so we're gonna need some coolant. And we're gonna need this thermostat and this thermostat housing gasket. It's not the easiest to find parts for this car. And when you do, usually they don't fit, and it's just kind of a mess, you know, if you're going with, especially with the big box stores, aren't much help with this car. Anyways, and this thermostat housing gasket is that going to work for us? Oh yeah, that'll be fine. Yeah, that's good. Well, hold on here. Why is it... why does it seem like it's crooked? Okay. It's kind of funny how it's gonna work, but it doesn't align that well. You know, a lot of stuff you get these days, like thermostat gaskets, for example, they're trying to make one gasket fit 5,000 different applications, so just kind of the way it is. And the thermostat, that was a bit of a trying feat to get one of these too. Part of the issue was with the size of it. This is a much larger diameter than, you know, your common thermostat. Now we get to find out if the thermostat is for sure gonna fit for us. And yeah, it is. But this brings up a whole topic of debate. Does the thermostat go on top of the thermostat housing gasket, or does it go below the thermostat housing gasket? What are we gonna do here today, you ask? Well, let's go grab that thermostat housing and then I will show you. And did I mention that we are running a 195-degree thermostat in this engine? It's what the factory book calls for. I could talk ad nauseum about this if I wanted to. Do people still say that, ad nauseum? Here's what I want to do. Okay, nothing lines up perfectly, right? Which is expected. But there is a little bit of a recessed groove here. And yes, there's rust here, but I didn't put primer on it because it's kind of pointless on the inside. So I'm thinking I want to get this centered in here. See, there's nowhere really... Here, let me show you better. So if we just grab the thermostat, and we just drop it, see how it can go all over the place, right? If we just drop it in, you know, let's just say we're getting this job done, let's go, we got to get this customer's car out. And then we just throw the thermostat housing on. Okay, see everything's all crooked and wonky. And then we just toss this on. And then we put our bolts in. Okay, we'll start that one. And then we'll get this second one started if we can get the... Okay, oh, the gasket is lined up, okay. So we'll get the second one in. Oh, hold on, I'm having troubles here lining it up. So we just threw that together, right? But look at this. There's just so much wiggle room here. It's kind of weird. Now this may seem like I'm over analyzing it, but if you were here, you'd be on my side, man. Okay, I want to put this right in the center. Okay. Ah, see it? It snaps. It kind of snaps into a groove here, but it's not. It's all crooked. Okay, we're gonna leave that there. Okay, and now we're gonna take this. This gasket actually has a adhesive back. So here's what we're gonna do. We've got the thermostat centered in there. And now we're going to put, so I guess we're going to be putting the thermostat on top of the gasket. Now I know we're not building an engine here, but I want everything centered as much as possible. Okay. There we go, man. You may think I'm crazy, but I think that was a very good use of time. Clean off this mating surface. This is exciting, right? Thermostat. Riveting content. Alright, now let's put it on. Oh yeah! Oh, it doesn't get any more professional than that. Can we get a round of applause, please, for a thermostat installation? Well done. And now I am inserting the rusty hardware onto the clean thermostat housing that is being bolted to a rusty engine. Now I'm starting to second guess why we even put primer on this thing, man. Why did we even do that? But if there's one piece of advice I could give you in this world, don't second guess yourself. Well, actually, sometimes it's probably pretty smart to second guess yourself. You know, like right before you jump out of a perfectly good airplane. I'm going to snug these up evenly, and then just do a little nudge. And when the time comes that we're running the engine, if it leaks, we'll tighten it up a little bit. It's not a big deal. All right, we need clamps. Where are our original 1962 radiator hose clamps? These awesome old hose clamps that were made in Brooklyn, New York. Would it be dorky if I said Brooklyn is in the house? Or would I say, if I was being cool, if I was being hip, if I was being up with the beat, would I say Brooklyn is in the house, Brooklyn is in the house, or do I say Brooklyn is in the house? Why do you watch me? I don't get it. Cut to me undoing our thermostat installation because I just remembered that I wanted to put coolant into the engine from the top without the thermostat on or in place to help us get some bubbles out, because I don't want to button everything up, you know, close thermostat because it's cold, right? And then we got hoses on, and then we put coolant and water in from up here, and we could be trapping air. There's never any guarantee on this stuff, but I would just like to do it this way. Even though if you think about it, if you think about trapping air, I mean, this is the highest point here. So, I don't know. Maybe it doesn't matter, but this is just how I like to do it. I want to add coolant from here at first, and then we will, second we'll put coolant in from here. Might as well just take this off too right now, huh? Let's get that out of our way. We're going to do a 50-50 coolant and water mix in here. And this jug here has got, oh, I don't know, about that much in there. And, you know, it doesn't matter. We're just going to pretend it's not in there. It doesn't matter. It's not that much. So we'll just fill this halfway. Then we'll fill it up the rest of the way with just straight concentrated coolant. And I'm trying to work smart here. You see, I'm not putting the coolant into this empty jug first because it'll probably just tip over, right? And spill everywhere. So I'm putting the water in, right? Add some weight on the bottom, huh? See? I like how they make it, they have measurements marked on here, but you can't see anything. Feels like half, right? It's a gallon jug for a quart, so I'll just say there's 2 quarts in there. Now let's put 2 quarts of coolant in. Actually, we could probably do this right here. Oh, it's almost like that was built like that on purpose. Accident waiting to happen. Oh. It's working out, actually. Thought this whole assembly here was just gonna fall into pieces. You're probably thinking I'm gonna overfill it and spill everywhere, but I'm not. You know, you You think I came down with last night's rain? No sir, no ma'am. One last check. Are the ends of all these hoses connected to something so that we just don't dump all this right on the ground? The upper radiator hose doesn't matter right now. That's fine. Let's do it. What? I just started thinking of a song when I said just do it. Who sings that song? Do it. Ah, Neil Diamond. That's who. We'll see how much we can fit in here. And of course, from the video where we flushed out the cooling jackets with the garden hose, there's probably a little bit of water left over inside there in the water jackets. Cooling jackets, water jackets, whichever. Oh, I wasn't paying attention. We just fill it right to the top. I'm trying not to spill this stuff all over. Okay, it's going down. Here, we could get rid of this girly funnel. Just keep drinking up. Oh yeah, just keep drinking it. Keep slurping it down. We're gonna get as much in as we can this way. We'll let that settle. Oh yeah. It's slurping it. It's making all the same sounds we make when we drink. I'm telling you, don't let people try to tell you that cars don't feel anything. Our cars are talking to us every day. They just don't know English. Alright, we're gonna call that good. She's not burping anymore. I think she's as full as she's gonna get it from this entry point. After the burping has settled, we're sitting up there at that level. And we don't want to fill this up all the way because in the thermostat, when we put it in, it's just gonna, displace it and it's just gonna spill out everywhere. Alright, let's put this thermostat in for good now. And then we will get our brand new molded hose, our brand new upper radiator hose, installed with our old clamps. And then we will top off the system with coolant all the way. Of course, when the engine's running and it warms up and the thermostat opens, it's going to burp a little bit more, and then the level will go down and we'll have to top it off, we'll be 99% of the way there. We probably had this thermostat housing tightened just right the first time, but now that we took it off and put it back on for a second time, I've probably over-tightened it now, and now it is going to leak everywhere. Why am I being so negative? What's with the negative waves, Moriarty? Alright, I've been waiting a long time to see how this fits. Oh, there we go, nice, that fits. And now, the final connection. Well, we better put our hoses on. I mean our clamps, not our hoses. Here, I gotta show you this. I gotta tell you something. This is how big of a dork I am. I am going to place the position of this clamp so that this writing is right side up. Isn't that, is that not ridiculous, or is that completely normal? Oh, but this one doesn't sit flat. Oh geez, what are we gonna do with this one? Oh my gosh. Well, I'm left-handed, so we'll have it go that way. Alright, here we go. Oh, perfect. Wow, I really appreciate the folks that have done all the work to get things like hoses like this molded, you know? You don't just do this at home, do you? I told you a second ago that I'm left-handed. Well, I'm actually a classically trained ambidextrous. Actually, I don't like that clamp like that. Watch, this is where I break the radiator because I'm screwing around, changing the, flipping this hose clamp around. Thanks for ordering this $500 radiator from us, sir. Would you drive home an abandoned car and it was missing the radiator? Well, no, actually, sensational. I love it. Now let's top off with our coolant and water mixture all the way to the, just about to the top of the radiator. We'll leave a little bit of head space. Wow, it feels good to be putting coolant in this radiator. It means we're getting closer and closer to this car being a daily driver out on the road. Well, that's if the engine that was, I remember this car was parked in 1975, so that's it. And we've had this car running before for just a few seconds here in Freeman's garage, but so assuming that when we get it out on the road there's nothing wrong with it, or well, and assuming that the push button, the vacuum operated push button flash-o-matic transmission works and all that, yeah, this is gonna be a daily driver out on the road. All right, for a second there I forgot where it even was. Bubbles coming up, coolant going down. So let's get some water in here and make this 50-50 mix so we have another gallon because we're going to need it. So what's the first adventure going to be with this 62 Rambler? Now, of course, I mean, there's, you know, a test drive and medium-sized drives and whatnot. But as soon as this chariot is mechanically sorted and everything's all settled into its groove, oh, we're going big time. You know, the great American road trip. Where are we going to go? Where are we going first? The Grand Canyon? We could go see that that Space Needle thingy that they just built for the World's Fair. Boy, this 2-core radiator is sure taking a lot of coolant. I mean, it is a pretty wide radiator, but I thought we'd be overflowing by now. Alright, we're leaking. Oh, come on, are you serious? You gotta be kidding me, man. Look at that, it's leaking out from underneath the thermostat housing. You know, I wonder if all of this was all warped from heat over the years, and then we put the thermostat back on in the opposite direction so the warpages don't line up, and so there's a little gap. Well, coolant's not cheap, so I say let's just, gosh, I don't know, let's just leave it, and then in future videos here, when we've got the engine running for a while and actually up to operating temperature and whatnot, we'll see if it'll seal itself up. You know what I mean? That might sound like wishful thinking, but you'd be surprised. In a second here, we're going to take a look at some other stuff on the car, but for right now, let's give ourselves a pat on the old back ski for finishing the cooling system project. Hopefully in the future we don't end up having to take that thermostat housing off. If we do, we do, but I was serious when I said it actually might sort itself out, as crazy as that sounds. So for you Rambler superfans, here is what is next for this car. in the upcoming videos. I'm really excited about these upcoming videos with this car. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't guarantee you the order that all of this that I'm about to mention is going to go in because of, you know, sourcing parts and all that kind of stuff. But I just want you to know what's going on and what I'm thinking and what the plan is here. So what I want to do is I want to get this throttle linkage actually hooked back up and connected to the pedal inside the car. And I also want us to get this engine set up to where it'll sit here and run all day. Now we've got it running before here in Freeman's garage in previous videos, but you know, not for more than a few seconds. And so I want to actually just have it sit here and just be able to run non-stop because we've got a cooling system set up now, so we don't have to worry about overheating it. But we're going to need a fuel source, and we could hook up a gas can, but what I want to do is I want to suck fuel out of our factory fuel tank. And in a previous video we had got a flashlight down in here into the tank, and we were able to get video footage in there, and it was really, really clean. So what I want to do is I want to, okay, well let me explain. We've got rubber line up here, and then there's steel all the way to the back, and then there's a piece of rubber line that goes to the tank. Well, I want to replace the rubber pieces, and we'll run up, and we'll keep the factory fuel line that's already in place. I trust it. So basically what I'm saying is freshen up the fuel line, new rubber lines, and then put gas in that tank. And then that way this car can sit here and idle off its own fuel source, and it will be an even better test for the dual action fuel pump that pumps your fuel and wipes your wipers. And if you haven't seen those videos, those two videos, they're linked in the description as well, where we rebuilt that dual action fuel pump. That was a fun adventure. You gotta watch those if you haven't. And what else do I want to tell you here? So I mentioned the throttle linkage and hooking up the fuel source. And what's the other thing that okay, here's the other thing. Well, let me back up. We also are going to be testing the flash-o-matic transmission. Okay, we're going to have to do that. That's going to be fun. And also, in a previous video where we dug into the brakes, I'm sure you've seen that one as well, we discovered that we got to get a bunch of brake parts basically. So that's got to all get done. It's going to take me time to source all those parts. And then another main thing I wanted to tell you, and this is something that I want to do very, very soon, possibly the very next video with the car, is I want to get the valves adjusted, and I want to torque the head bolts. I'll explain more in these future videos, but just right now, off the cuff, right off the cuff links, the factory, let's back up a little bit. This is a 1930s or 40s designed Nash engine. Nash and Hudson merged and then became AMC, and at this point Rambler was actually its own brand, made by AMC, but its own brand. But they're still running this old designed engine. Now, the service manual calls for, well, I can't remember exactly what the service manual calls for, but I'll be very close when I say this. Every 10 or 12,000 miles, maybe even every 1 to 3 years. Don't quote me on that. We'll get into the weeds when we get to these future videos when we actually do this. But because of the design of the cylinder head and issues with running hot, the head bolts loosen up. And that could be why we see that between the cylinder head and the engine block. One thing that was the demise of these engines, especially as they got a lot of miles on them, got older and got a lot of miles on them, is people, you know, let's just say in the 70s, you know, they're getting a car like, you know, they get one of these cars and it's now an old cheap car, and then they go out, it's got this engine design from when you didn't do over 45 miles an hour for hours at a time, right? And now you got somebody in the 70s who gets this as an old used car, and then they drive it like it's the 1970s, and they don't do the maintenance, and they destroy the things. So we're going to do that maintenance, and then we're also going to do this service manual required periodic valve adjustment. We're going to do that as well. That'll be neat. It looks pretty cool under here when you take this valve cover off. It's kind of an interesting arrangement. And, oh, well, and when we get around to, that's right, we're going to put fresh oil in this engine as well, and a new oil filter. And when we get to talking about the oil filter, oh, buddy, get ready to go down a rabbit hole. Anyways, I think I talked your ear off enough. I'm going to send you to watch one of the videos up on the screen right now, and like, comment, subscribe. Why do you watch me? I don't get it.